Hi, now I'd like to introduce Terry Unruh, who is the production and maintenance process leader from Ascend Performance Materials.
Well, good afternoon. Is everybody still awake? We're all still there? Okay, I work for Ascend Performance Materials. Who of you know what Ascend is? Anybody? Maybe a few, not many. Ascend is a part of Solutia, which was part of Monsanto. So Ascend is essentially the fibers and plastics division that inherited from Solutia. It's a global company based in Houston, Texas, with various operating units throughout the Southeast. Fully integrated, we essentially make 1 billion pounds a year of nylon 6/6 in various forms, whether fuzz on tennis balls, end caps on radiators, the yarn in airbags, tire cord yarn, things like that. Cable ties, zip ties, cable ties, those are essentially nylon 6/6. So we produce a lot of that. We are the world's most reliable, as we want to be, we are the largest producer of nylon 6/6. We want to be the most reliable, creative, and responsible. And this is where we come in from what we worked on with software applications. We want to be reliable, asset management. And something we learned throughout this process, and I'll give you a kind of a snippet. There are 7 words that we learned were very important. Anybody know Grace Hopper? Does that name sound familiar? Grace Hopper, Rear Admiral Grace Hopper. She said these 7 words were very important. She actually had a clock designed for her office that ran backwards, that ran counterclockwise to illustrate these 7 words. Forbes magazine said these 7 words were some of the most important words around this phrase. Anybody heard of Andy Putzner? Anybody heard of him? He was nominated, I think, as the Secretary of Labor-elect. He was the CEO, or is the CEO of Hardee's, Carl's Jr., and such. He said when he took over the company, was deep in debt, going south, and the second email he wrote was, the next person that says these 7 words gets fired. So what were these 7 words that we learned? And we will get to them. Okay, our challenge. Anybody have paper? We have paper. We inherited paper. We have lots of paper, logs. We have paper for all of our outside activities. We have log sheets. So we have all sorts of paper. So what do we do with all that paper? They were all filed away. That data was essentially of very little value. So we had systems on paper. We had to do something with that. We have data in various different places. They're very time-consuming to compile them. An auditor comes from TCEQ to look at environmental data. Well, you go from this file cabinet to that file cabinet, this logbook, and pile it together. It takes days, literally. Lack of good communication between control rooms. Accountability from shift to shift, that turnover. The aggregation of all the operational data, how is that done? The DCS systems keep us in good operating areas, so we don't go out into the ditch somewhere, but they have wide ranges to meet PSM requirements. Operating limits, a lot of times, are overlooked. Anybody heard of IOWs, the integrity operating windows? So all this data we call it the LWFF, look, write, file, and forget. We looked at the data, we wrote it down, we filed it, and we forgot it. So that was our challenge, and as we became Ascend, the new owner said we need to be more efficient. We need to get out of our box. We need to think more efficiently. We need to continuously improve our process. So one of the things that we did went to mobility. We looked at various solutions out there. We looked at vendors and such, and we picked IntelliTrack as the best one. This is back in 2012. We did our proof of concept. Does anybody know mobility? You've done mobility? You've done? Some of the handhelds, some of you have, some of you haven't. So something that we needed to get the data in the hands of engineers, supervisors, and such, so we could understand what those exceptions were that got written on a sheet of paper, that got filed away, that we didn't see until there was an accident or something happened. And we went back to the paper and said, oh, well, it was right there. It was right there in the file. We didn't see it. So example, operator goes out with a handheld, and we're looking at handhelds, now we're looking at tablets and smartphone type equipment. So he'll go out and he'll complete his tasks in the procedure. In one of our Decatur plant, we had an operator went out looking at a compressor, an air compressor in utilities. And he got everything in the machine, and it said alert. It said there's a problem. It was out of range. So what does he do? So he can do several things. He can say enter a work notification. So this directly enter a work notification we use SAP, into our SAP system. Also, it shows, if he's finished, it shows an alert, and it will transfer the round data to IntelliTrack, to the story, and the maintenance. So we go in there to approve the rounds. The supervisor sees the exceptions. The engineers and such will take actions on those. We also have those as a web-based system. They're actually emailed to supervision and staff concurrently, so everybody's up to date on what the exceptions. Again, we're talking about exception-based system. Nobody has time to look at all the data. That's just the fact of life. But we can look at the exceptions. We can highlight those. So this operator's out there. He looked at the air compressor, and it turns out that the lube oil was 40 pounds, the lube oil pressure on that machine. The super user that programmed it did a very good job. The limit was 30 pounds. And explicitly, it was written in the programming. And as he saw that, it progressed through maintenance, the engineers. The question was, why is it 40? Is that good? And the answer was no, that was not good. Their limit was 30. So they went out and they took a sample of the oil, sent out for analysis. It turned out that when the air compressor had been overhauled, the wrong oil was put in. Never would have found it. The wrong oil, too high a pressure. The gearbox would have eventually failed to the tune of $30,000 plus unintended downtime, which could have led to other plant issues. Successive exceptions are sent to business leaders to address anything that's happening over and over, something that's a continual issue. One thing I want to bring up. This works, if you know about DMAIC, this really works for M. We looked at M for measuring. A lot of times we went out there, we didn't know what limits were. We had no idea on our deep well injection pumps, the cooling water temperatures in and out of the coolers. Had no idea, but we measured it, we collected data, then we could put limits on that data that helped us eliminate issues in the future. It also helped with C for control. As we find things, as we do projects, and I'm sure a lot of you have done, whether it's Six Sigma projects or continuous improvement projects, and I've done them. Guess what? After a year or two, sometimes they go into disrepair. Anybody experience that? Sometimes things go backwards. This will help get that intelligence into something that is meaningful, that's repeatable over and over. And one thing we did when we actually did all the programming, we told the folks, we don't want to go paper to plastic. So what does it mean, paper to plastic? I said that over and over in groups. We don't want to go paper to plastic. As I spoke at one of the IntelliTrack conferences, and someone said, from a major corporation said, we did paper to plastic, and our system's not working very well. So what they did, they took a paper sheet that had been, say, maybe 15 years old, and they just plugged that in to the plastic computer. That's all they did. So we took the approach, we'll add value. We looked at the old data, said what really needs to be there, what's value added. So we'd go through and get rid of some data. We'd add data. We'd add those supposed to things operators were supposed to be looking at, supposed to be doing that was never written down. we got a lot of value from that, and I'll throw an example out later. So workforce engagement, that was a term used this morning. This helped get the workforce engaged. A lot of times, these reports were used in morning meetings. What are the exceptions for the last night? What happened? What's going on? And they could track that for monitoring. We have RFIDs out there. And another Einstein quote, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll keep on getting what you've always gotten. We had to do something different. We had to do something different. And this change helped us tremendously. So a different area. So we talked about the operators in the field. So we got some software. It really helped them. So we said, how about the operators in the control room, engineers? What can we do with them? What's maybe a big picture? As John Johanneman said, the visual factor, as we called it, keeps tabs on the big picture. It tells us whether we're straying from the middle of the road and getting close to a ditch. We're able to see the warning signs before we get there. So with this, and this essentially we're talking about dashboards, as Jonathan talked about previously. And this kind of defines, it reinforces our continuous improvement. It reinforces that control. We've made some major improvements. We have models. We know where we should operate. We have our best periods. And we put that into a dashboard system where we know how to win. You could ask the operator when they're done with the shift, do you win today? And a lot of them will say, well, we didn't shut down. Is that winning? Barely? Barely? But did you operate efficiently? Did you save money on energy and yield and all those things? And they don't know. They don't know how we win. So it's graphical, enhance their knowledge, understanding, influencing their corrective actions, adds intelligence. This last comment, one of the engineers said, it really places my tools in the hands of the operators. And not as the tool per se as a spreadsheet, but something simplified, as mentioned, red or green, good or bad. Are we going out into some area where we're seeing transfer issues, we're seeing heat transfer coefficients that are killing us? What's really going on? Something that Janice mentioned, the visualization empowers organizations to make actionable decisions faster. So that's something we wanted to do. We said we've got a good tool in the field. Now what can we do in the control room to help put things together? And we like to integrate software. And we looked around for software. We looked at various companies. And we ended up looking at some of the Schneider material for this, their software. So we said we want dashboards. We want dashboards there's an intelligence client. We wanted that. And we always ask our operators, the voice of the customer. We wanted them involved in this so they would accept the solution. What would you like to have? They said, we want a logbook. We have all this paper. We want a logbook. We don't have to go back, electronic logbook, go back and page after page and find out when the last time P52 had this knocking issue or something. So we want electronic logbook, shift instructions with, we used a workflow called Wonderware Skelta. We used that reporting. We would integrate our LIM system, our IntelliTrack, the mobility and SAP, and all this into the dashboard system with intelligence. And then we have escalation and alerts. We also can use the workflow, the Skelta BPM for that. So we try to put all this together and integrate with our field application. George Washington Carver said, when you do the common things of life in an uncommon way, you'll command the attention of the world. And that's all that I think all three of us, as we're discussing things, we're doing some common things a little different way. We're getting good results. And that's why you're here. That's why we're at the conference, to see what people are doing a little bit more uncommon and getting some great results. So dashboards, you've heard about dashboard. You know about dashboard. KPIs, safety, quality, production. And we try to integrate our historian, LIMS, quality measures, SAP. We'll take production schedules, maybe tank car shipments or rail car shipments, things that are forecasted. place that in the operator's hands so they can actually see that, download from SAP, and also from IntelliTrack. Our philosophy essentially is to have a main dashboard with the main KPIs or main metrics, then have something, we call it like a one-stop shop, where we can take the indicators and we can drill down to a second level or a third level. So in the top main dashboard, we have something that's fairly easy to see, something that is, we call it, you ought to be able to look at it and understand what you're doing within just a few seconds. So we propagate anything in our level 2 up to our level 1 so we see that there's a problem underneath so we don't lose, call it orphans that are set aside. We do trends, bar graphs, control over who gets to see it. We have tighter control of targets. So consistent, predictable communications around our business needs. Operators can understand what winning really is. So kind of an example, this is a lot of different things thrown in there, not necessarily the cleanest example, but it's just a model of some of the different items, and it's totally simulated. But we could have something like on the left, ESH. We have safety, environmental statistics, production, reliability, OEE, energy, yield, all those on the top. And if anything is red, then the top header would turn red. And they can click on either the item or the header and drill down to the next level. They can actually, sometimes we choose to plot different things. We can choose what to plot. We can have somewhat of a subsection. Plus on the bottom left, we have some vertical bars with the high target, low target, and when they're in that target range. And most of the time, we ask them to model the targets. We say we don't want a target that's, say, 3,000 BTUs per pound. Well, as you all know, operations change, they move, so we model that so it changes with operations. And up on the top, we have daily instructions. I'll mention one thing before I move on, that we align the goals, and one of the operators said, when I keep things green, the control room's quieter. The control room's quieter. Less operational variability. So we have e-logbook. Essentially, that's where they're placing their comments, attaching documents, pictures, all those things they can do in their logbook. Shift instructions replaces those paper issues, the paper instructions that get lost. And they call you up in the middle of the night. Well, what am I supposed to do here? Well, it's in your instructions. Well, we lost them. Well, it's automatically sucked into all the targets, so it's very easy to understand. So bridges gaps in understanding. Example, our steam traps. We have 10,000 steam traps. You probably have some too. We have 10,000. What do you do with them? So we actually use Visual Factory and IntelliTrack. We have IntelliTrack to have steam trap rounds, and the Visual Factory to actually put it together. And this is a very, very detailed printout, but we can drill up. We can drill up to a unit summary where we can summarize with the different units, and we can drill up even further to just plant sites. Well, here's Chocolate Bayou at $1.8 million of opportunity of actual leaks. We put everything in dollars. We have these steam traps. We know the orifice size. We know the steam pressures. We put this in dollars, so we know what steam traps are important and what aren't, what to work on. The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so the necessary may speak. Okay, what do we do? What do we find? Maintenance cost. We saved over $1 million over the last 3-4 years in maintenance cost. Very simply, our proof of concept. We went out there, vertical pumps. They have little heater circuits in them. When they're down, heater circuit's supposed to kick in. Some of them didn't. When they hit the start button, it's called the blue flash event. About $30,000 per event. Ever since we started, we eliminated all those events. We saved $165,000 per year. That's what we were spending on blue flash events. Energy, utilities, material costs, over $2.5 million. That's in the Visual Factory, that's in our IntelliTrack, that's in all those things combined with steam traps and other material costs and energy savings. In the unit with Visual Factory, one of the units, we saved a tremendous amount of yield. tremendous amount of yield because they were attentive to the process. We eliminated several plant shutdowns because of inoperable equipment. We actually went out and programmed a system where we would ensure our spare pumps were working, whether by bumping, starting, swapping. We found some spare pumps didn't work. We thought they would work. Where the first pump would go down, it would go down for quite a while, and that would have lost both pumps. That would trigger utilities issues throughout the whole site and significant losses. Plus, in the utilities unit where we started our proof of concept, we reduced the reactive work by 20%. Those are 7 words. That's how we've always done it. That's how we've always done it. Culture. Throughout all this, culture, change, the pain of change. That's the part you can't miss. You can't miss that. So J. Hudson Taylor said, at first the task looks difficult, then it's impossible, then it's done. You go through that pain of change. You have to show the operators that something at the end of your journey is going to be better than where they are now. They'll see improvement to get over that pain of change. So remember, 7 words. This is a cultural issue. You're going to hear that. This is how we do it. This is how it's always been done. Well, this is better. Why is it better? You have to answer the question. Culture is very important on this journey. We have wonderful software from Schneider we've used, but without the operators buying in and getting them involved, this would not have succeeded nearly as well as it did. Thank you.